Hi, welcome everyone to Coleman Report Live, April 30th edition. Today we have Katie Wittucky, our editor, and John Riosti, the community banker for community bank reporter for American Banker. How you doing, John?
Very well, Joseph. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. We're going to talk about the stats, and then we'll get into your article. Katie, this came out over the last night. Give us an update on the PPP2 activity.
Right. So this morning we got some news about exactly how many loans have been done, and it was also broken down by how large of a bank was doing these loans. In total, so far, we're at over 960,000 PPP loans in the second round of funding, and almost $90 billion, which is surprising because a lot of us thought that we were going to be out of money by today. Yeah. So it is getting stretched out a little bit. What I thought was, what they were trying to do and what I think they're actually being successful in doing is the smaller banks are the ones that are doing a significant number of these loans. In fact, they're the highest at over 587,000 loans. In comparison, you're looking at these larger banks that are only at 167,000. So they are, it progressively gets smaller as the banks get larger, which was the intent of this round. They really wanted to make sure that the smaller community banks and people with connections to those local community banks had access to these funds.
Correct. Yeah, you sent out a nice report yesterday on how the window for the small banks was open. John, let's bring you into this. You wrote a fantastic article, which we have attached for everyone, on the tilt towards the smallest lenders. Give us an update on your article and what's going
on. Well, sort of the gist that we tried to capture in the article was not only the tilt towards the smallest lenders, but the number of what you might call mid-game changes that are piling up. They started in the first round. I mean, there were so many unanswered questions that got answered progressively. But here, some of these things that they're doing are changes, and one of the ones we highlighted and seems to have caused a fair bit of consternation, certainly among the borrowers, is the loan review for the loans that are in excess of $2 million. And I guess SBA has made it clear that they're going to honor the guarantees on these loans, provided that the banks follow the rules, which I'm sure, all have done. But, where does this leave the borrowers? And I talked to several bankers yesterday who said they have had conversations with borrowers who are very concerned, to put it mildly, about this. And, certainly the evidence has shown, and there's been wide publicity around, some borrowers who got loans who probably shouldn't have gotten loans and shouldn't, had no business applying. But the terms were so broad that, they met them. If you set the bar really low, then you're going to get all kinds of applicants. What's happening now is borrowers who took relatively large loans, $2 million or more, but who really sincerely felt that they needed the money, and felt that potentially their businesses were at risk, are all of a sudden concerned that they're going to have to might be asked to give it back. And I talked to one attorney yesterday who said some will choose to give it back just to avoid any potential problems, and that could have the kind of negative effect that SBA was trying to prevent with the program, which meaning they might have to fire or lay off employees because of this. He thinks it's that serious.
Unbelievable. You wrote the SBA is requiring banks to complete a new form, the form SBA Form 1052. Give us your reporting on that. What's the holdup on that?
Well, the holdup is that as of last night, the last conversation I had was about a little after 8 p.m. Eastern time last night. The form had not been created by SBA, and my understanding is it's sort of a form that bankers will need to actually get the reimbursement, and there's a deadline that they have. It's 20 days after funding. So some of the earliest loans that were funded, very quickly, or very early in the process, relatively early in the process, they're approaching, they're at or approaching that deadline. One would think that if, the form doesn't exist, and they pass the deadline because of that reason, they'll be given grace. But nobody likes to assume things, and everybody worries when the system doesn't function as it should. So, that's just one more of the issues that is popping up.
We'll definitely be keeping an eye on that for sure, and we look forward to seeing it. There's some more guidance.
Right.
Procedural notice 20023 came out, and this is an update to the procedural notice before that came out last week. On Katie, what's going on here? It's basically an update on how if SBA purchased the guarantee and are serviced by the lenders, we just got more guidance on that, mm-hmm. Right?
Yes, it's just more guidance on that, giving some more clarity. They did say in the previous procedural notice that they would give some more clarity to that later on, and that's what this is doing.
Got it. We have two more FAQs that were released. One on the if your business had to be in operation as of February 15th to be eligible, and I think they cleared it up as a change of ownership. It doesn't matter if there was a change of ownership as long as the business was active by February 15th. Is that correct, John?
Yes. Yeah, that's my understanding.
Right, and that's even if they have a new tax ID number, which I think is helpful too, because that would be probably somebody's concern, is it might look like a new business, but it's just a change of ownership.
Okay, and it looks like Paul, a longtime friend of the program, found a link, so we will try to get that out to everyone. Also, the last one is, you talked about it a little bit briefly, John. SBA will review individual PPP loan files as a result of the first round, correct?
Yes, and one of the problems, the other problems with this is they haven't gone sort of out of their way to communicate these things beyond the bare facts. That notice came in a joint statement by the Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary Mnuchin, and the Administrator Carranza, and it pretty much was a couple of paragraphs long and a statement of the facts that they would be doing this, but they didn't necessarily say, why they're doing it, what they'll be looking for. I guess what they did, what they're trying to, their overarching purpose is to try and ascertain whether these companies that took the PPP loans could have gotten funding elsewhere. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting because in the law, if you go back to the CARES Act, the credit elsewhere provision was is not in play here, and the law made that explicit. And now it seems to me, at least in this sort of very modified form, they're putting it back into force, midway through the program. And while it doesn't seem it will rebound against the banks that made the loans, if SBA, decides or finds that something was amiss, it certainly could be a problem for the borrowers, theoretically. And they're the ones that are very upset right now, a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, John, we always appreciate your Thursday update. I think a lot of us look forward to it. And it seems like next week it's going to be drastically different, just like from last week. So we will keep an eye on the SBA Form 1052, and we will be tracking PPP 2 round loan amounts. And we look forward to seeing you next week, John.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
we will be sending finally the reports are done, so we're going to be sending that out to our premium membership list. If you would like to order them, their franchise and NAICS reports for 2020, you can send me an email and we will get those out to you. John, I appreciate, we always love you on the program. Katie as well, you're doing a great job. I think that a lot of people are tuning in because of your hard work, and we appreciate that. So we look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And John, have a nice day, and take care.